Hey, welcome to Fiber Lakes Garage, the home of random projects. We have lists, we have Jeeps, we have trucks, we have food. You name it, we got it. So help out the channel by just hitting that subscribe button. And if you like the video, go ahead and like it. And if you really like the video, like it and then tell a friend. But stay tuned, enjoy yourself. I'm gonna let you go because I got stuff to do. Hey, thanks so much for stopping by today at the shop. And today we're actually going to do something that's on our list. Actually, we're going to start on something that's on the list. So let's take a look at the list real quick. All right, so we had the CJ. Yes, we do have the lockers, and no, we're not going to put those in today because I don't feel like doing it right now, really. I did fix the shifter. I can mark that off. The Wagoneer, I'm still working on that darn transmission. I really hate automatic transmissions. But we'll get that done soon enough. Now we do have a bunch of stuff that we want to do with the shop itself. We're going to hold off on that one. We got a bunch of stuff for the van, but then again, we don't have our new car yet, so we'll have to wait on that one. So let's work on the Tacoma. This little fine steed behind me. Actually, if you've seen some of the other videos, you know my opinion on it. But anyway, so we are going to work our first baby steps on the lift of this 2019 Toyota Tacoma. All right, here it is, 2019 Toyota Tacoma with the bug splatter all over the front. I did take this out into the woods this past weekend for Order of the Arrow. I've been inducted into it now, so we'll see how that goes. I'll do a whole other video just on the Order of the Arrow. It's actually pretty decent, but today it's all about the Tacoma time. So if you've seen any of the other videos that had anything to do about this truck or any of the other projects that we want to do, I've always said I want to lift it. I want to lift it and put bumpers, winches, sliders, and lift it. I think I said lifted it because it is way too low with only 9 inches of ground clearance underneath the exhaust pipe that is on the list. We want to get that done. But anyway, so today is actually going to be the first baby step on getting this thing lifted. Now, all the lifts that I've actually seen, some of them are wickedly expensive. Really wanted one from Marlin Crawler, but holy crap, by the time I actually put that in, and the tires, and the lift, steering, all that stuff, I could have bought a whole new truck. The sub looks like a fantastic product. I just can't afford that right now. So we're going to take a much smaller approach. So I do have a line on a couple lifts I'm looking at, but all of them require either new rims because you need a different offset, or what we're going to do today, because I want to keep these rims and we're going to try to keep this on a budget, is that we're going to install these guys. So they're over here. Alright, so like I said, I want to keep my same rims, but what we're going to need are wheel spacers. Now, I'm not a huge fan of wheel spacers. I do have them on the CJ. They're actually been working really well. But these guys right here, I put a lot of, I plan on doing a lot of miles on this truck, and getting a good set of spacers, if you need to have them, is definitely the best way to go. Just don't grab the cheapest crap that's out there. The CJ doesn't see a lot of highway miles. I'm okay with the cheaper stuff. But this one here, I got it from Spidertrax and made here in the US, apparently. And so we're going to try these out and see how they go. Now, a couple things that we're going to go over today. One, we're going to install them, just see what they look like. Excuse me, in a stock form. And the other part is to show you a couple tips and tricks that I kind of learned along the way to actually pick the right one, because they are hub centric. With Toyota and a lot of other manufacturers, it is very important to get hub centric spacers if you have to run spacers. And when I pull the tire off, I'll show you exactly what that is. So I already put one on one side, getting ready to put this one on the other side. So let's take a look and see what's the big difference. All right, we're over here on the right side of the truck. Here in the US, it'll be the passenger side. But as you can see, this is a stock tire. It's just a Goodyear Wrangler. the wheel is tucked in right underneath this fender. And the reason why we need to have spacers is because once you get to a bigger tire, it actually hits the upper control arm. And the lift that I'm looking at actually has a new upper control arm to help with the caster. So what we got to do is actually pull the wheel away from the hub and away from the upper control arm. Now you can actually put a spacer in there like we're doing today, or you can actually go in and buy new rims, get it offset. So anyway, let's look at the other side, the one I've already did. All right, so I already put this one on. I've already torqued down everything, so everything is to spec. Actually, I put on about 100 foot-pounds. That's usually what I do on just about any wheel that I put on. I don't really look at, oh, it's a 7/16, so it's a ½ inch, it's a M14, whatever. I don't care. I'm going to put 100 foot-pounds on it. If it's a really big tire, I might put a little bit more, maybe 120. Don't want to go too much because you will mess up the rims. But anyway, as you can see, it is spaced out a little bit further. Now I've only went with 1.25 inch spacing on this. So the lift that I'm looking at is only requiring a ½ inch of spacing, but it was kind of hard to find the spacers that I wanted in a ½ inch. I saw the 1.5 inches and I was like, well, maybe it'll give you a little bit more of an aggressive look. Pull it out a little bit. Maybe we can pull the guards off and maybe give it a little bit more room. I do want to replace the bumper, but 1.25 inches is what we're going to go with today. All right, so we're over here. We do have the jack underneath. We actually jacked it up. Now what I did with this one is actually put it in 4 low, put it in gear, because these front wheels, you can't use the friction of the tire to actually tighten the spacer. So it's just a little bit easier to go in and put it in, well, in my case, put it in first, put it in 4 low, so that it will lock up this hub and you can actually torque it to spec. If not, you got to put a pry bar in there to actually hold 2 of the studs while you actually rip on it and get it down to spec. Now, a couple things that you really need to think about when you're actually putting on spacers like this is case of emergency. You need to take it off for whatever reason. Just about every spacer, well, at least in this case, the lug nuts is a 21 millimeter. The spacer is a 19 millimeter. So you need to make sure that you have both sockets on your truck at all times, so just in case you have to get down to the brake or whichever, and you need to take them both off. So make sure you have both lug nuts. And actually, let's take a look at what we're getting ready to put on, because they're actually pretty. Got foam. Look at that. That is one pretty oh my goodness, look at that. There you go. All right, so made here in the US of A. Now, when I was talking about earlier about being hub centric, will be this ring right here in the middle. Because if you look on the back side, it's recessed. Now, if you take, don't want to scratch it. Now, you just grab yourself a little mic tool, just like this. And pick this up from Harbor Freight. It's not that expensive, a couple bucks. And what I'm going to do is measure this off. So I'm going to measure the inside diameter of this ring. And we are looking at roughly 106.1 millimeters. Now this isn't exactly the most accurate tool, but it should be same once I measure and once I get this tire off. So let's go ahead and get the tire off. I'll show you where it's going. All right, so we have the wheel off. All right, anytime you take your wheel off, go ahead and check it for nails, check it for holes, check it for whatever. It's just good insurance. Now, one thing that if you get from Spidertrax, one thing they will put you in there, here we go, some Loctite. Now, it is highly recommended to put Loctite on the threads when you're putting the spacer on. I did have it on my CJ, well, apparently I didn't put enough up there. And I'm riding along and I can see my rear mirror and my wheels going blah, 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 blah. Couldn't figure out what was going on until I pulled the tire off and noticed that my little lug nuts were backing off. So they couldn't come all the way off unless they all come off, but it was scary. So use your Loctite. All right, so we want to make sure that this thing is exactly what we need. I've already measured the other side, so we are actually pretty good. But I'm going to measure this one here and this one here just to make sure that it's not a manufacturer defect or anything like that. So it was 106 millimeters on the inside of this. Now, when it says hub centric, it is right here in the middle. This is your hub. And what you want to do is actually measure the hub to make sure, and that is right on money right there. All right. So both of them are about 106, according to this one, 106 millimeters in diameter. So we should be in good shape with this guy. There you go. So all it really does is that you put your lug nuts back on, which will be the ones that are supplied with the kit, and don't forget your Loctite. Torque those down to 100 foot-pounds, and that should not come off. And then you put your tire on the outside. So let's do that. Let's see what it looks like. I bet you it's gonna look pretty. All right, and also save some of the Loctite because this stuff is worth money. Stuff is expensive. All right, gonna stick that up there. Now, here's one thing you have to notice as well. Here's the lug nut for your Toyota tire. See how the lug is a little bit different than your new one. This right here is gonna actually space it out to the lug nuts, where this one will fill in the space on your rim. So let's put this guy's on. Should have 6. All right, you saw me put Loctite on the actual studs. That actually is going to hold the spacer on. Now, when I put the lug nuts on, this right here is aluminum, and it's kind of soft. Now, I haven't had it personally done, but I have seen it in a lot of the other shows I've watched, Dirt Every Day, Marty Car Mods, all that stuff, that sometimes they will have, maybe the lug nut will get stiff on there, gall up, and actually spin inside the spacer itself. So what I like to use is just a little dab of anti-seize on all the lugs just to keep it from galling. A lot of people say don't do it. Well, this is what I do, and you can use your own judgment when you're doing yours. Don't need a lot. Just a little bit. It's just enough just to keep it from seizing up and causing a problem. All right, so we got the tire. Now, when I say hub centric, that hub is actually going to ride on the inside of your tire, or inside your wheel, rather. The lug nuts hold the wheel on, but the actual weight of the truck rides on the hub. So keep that in mind, especially when you're getting hub centric wheel spacers. All right, there you go. Wheel is back on and everything has been torqued. One big problem with wheel spacers. 12 lugs you got to torque per tire. Multiply that by 4. Do the math. That's a lot of torquage. Anyway, let's get this guy back on the ground and see what she looks like. And don't forget to get your safety jack stand out before you drop it down. All right, there you go. It's a little bit more of an aggressive look. It does pull it out. I got plenty of room on the inside because actually I could put a wider tire on this thing just running stock stuff. But this should be a good first step. Looks a little bit more aggressive. It pulls it away, and we'll see what it looks like. And then I'll clean it up, and maybe I'll show you in the daylight because right now it is dark and hot. All right, so basically the front is done. I'm getting ready to do the back. You don't really need to watch that. It's more of the same thing. Rinse and repeat, and then we're done. And then we're going to take it outside. And things I want to look for on my test drive, when we're going to do that here later on in the video, is to check for vibration. I'm also going to turn and see, because when you pull your wheels out further, as you turn, the geometry is a little bit different, so that this one might actually, they won't track the same way. It should be pretty darn close. I might wear out a little bit of tires, so... But hey, it'll be all right. Buy new tires, it'll be fine. But anyway, this is a Toyota, and it is 6 on 5.5. Let's see if we got something else that might fit this thing, just to see how it looks like. But anyway, I'm gonna do the back, come back, and take it for a test drive. All right, it's a new day. We are outside. The sun is bright. It is hot outside again, but it's not gonna stop me from going to the bike trails. I got the bike on the back, but we're ready to do a quick test drive to see whether or not these wheel spacers are gonna be what we wanna do long term. Now, a couple things we kinda wanna do to make sure that they are the right ones for us would be sharp turns, make sure it doesn't rub, shouldn't. Make sure that it doesn't push, like maybe one wheel is going really far and the other one's not, tear up the tires. We also need to check for balancing. There was a lot of reviews on a lot of other ones that they say that so once you get up to like 45, 50 miles an hour, there's a lot of vibration. We don't want to have that. So what we're going to do now is test ours. Let's see what we got. We're going to do some sharp turns real quick. Well, it seems to turn faster. All right, let's lock. Back the way. Let's lock. All right, so one thing I just did there, I pushed the clutch in because it is a manual and just coasted and see if I felt anything like bogging down, rubbing, just anything that kind of hurt my speed. So now, let's get a little bit of speed in her and see if she starts to vibrate. All right, we're getting ready to come up to a U-turn. It's a relatively, well, I say relatively fast U-turn, but I kind of always take it fast. So let's take it around and see what she does. Okay, so I did get a lot of more chirp going around that corner than I used to. Going straight, it seems to be doing pretty well. It does feel a little bit more stable, actually, going around corners. Well, wider wheelbase will do that anyway. But it's a little annoying that it squeals that much. It did before. But hey, it'll be alright. Check it out. I don't do that sharper turns that often. So we'll see how it goes. Alright, I'm finally out into the country where I can actually put a little bit more speed into her. Back there was only 35 mile an hour zones. Not a lot. Alright, so I am at about 50, 55 right now, and actually it feels pretty fine. I can take my wheel off, take my hand off the wheel. I don't feel any vibration. Once I get around this corner, we'll open it up just a little bit more, see how she does. You know, legally, of course. Alright, so we got it about 65 or so. It's actually had okay manners. It was a slight vibration I felt, but I think it just could be my imagination on that one, because I'm keen focused on trying to find some of the issues. Because I really don't want to go on a long trip and be annoyed the entire time because it's a wrong mod. It's the problem with nowadays and their mods. Some are great, some are just, hey, let's be first to the market. Who cares if it works or not? I'm in the tech field, see it all the time. Alright, pros and cons that I've found so far. Pro, I do like the way it looks, I have to say. It pushes them out a little bit more, it makes it a little bit more aggressive. I think if I had to do it over again, one of my cons would be that to go to 1-inch spacers rather than 1 1/4 inch. 1 1/4, even though, you know, it does pull it out, it's only a 1/2 inch, but it does put it outside the fender just enough that I'm probably going to start throwing a lot more road debris on, you know, on the truck itself. So if I actually tuck that under just a little bit, I think it would have been a little bit better. I don't think it's quite to the point of actually sending it back and getting a refund, so I can actually you know, get some other ones that are 1 inch rather than 1 1/4 inch. But once I get the lift, and if I feel the need, I will go ahead and get 1 inch rather than 1 1/4 inch. I think we are, if you are looking at just slightly changing the look of your truck, wheel spacers are not too bad as long as you get the real deal. Don't go and just get any willy-nilly ones out there, because I saw some that were like 80 bucks for 4. I was like, wow, that's, you can barely get lug nuts for that. A little exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Also, these were a little on the pricey side, and they only came in 2 in a package, so I did have to get 2 packages, and I want to say they're like 100 bucks a pop. So it's like 200 bucks just in wheel spacers. But if I had to get new rims, depends on which ones you're going for, it would be a lot more than that. All right, well, I'm almost over to Harris Lake. Gonna do another trail ride. Check out some of the other videos. This is our first step. Actually, it's our second step. The first step was actually to put the tune on the engine, because if I couldn't get the engine at least happy, then, well, at least making me happy, then I wouldn't have gone to the next level. This is just a baby step, because once I get my lift, I'm gonna have to pull the wheels out anyway to keep it from rubbing. And like I said, first step, baby steps. Next step, I believe, will actually get the lift. Unfortunately, we might need to step that as well, where I can get the lift, put it on, and then ride around with tiny tires until I can get the real ones. But we will see, and if you stick around, you're gonna see every little last bit of it here on 5 Lakes Garage. Until next time, take it easy, have fun, and keep modding, because it's fun, and it makes you happy in the end. Later. You know what, I'm gonna cut in real quick. I forgot to mention a couple of things. I just remember while I was on my ride, so I apologize for the sweatiness right now. But after you do this, after you put your spacers on, ride around about 50, 100 miles or so, bring it back to the shop, re-torque everything, take the wheels off, re-torque the spacers, and then re-torque your wheels. You do not want to have a wheel fall off. You don't want to have it all wobbly, because then it messes up your threads, messes up your lugs and your rims, and then you're right back on buying new rims again. So just make sure you get everything torqued down, double check, come back, check it again, and then you should be okay and safe. I'm tired.